And good evening and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. My name is Ralph Williams, and I know we're an hour late behind schedule usually, but tonight have a special broadcast tonight for 9 o'clock. My guest is Jerry DePaula from the TRIB Live. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Good evening, Ralph. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Jerry's here tonight. We're going to talk about Pitt football. In case you're not aware, Pitt gets started with spring training or training camp next week, and also coming up is the backyard brawl, which will be the start of the new West Virginia Pitt rivalry, which we always call the backyard brawl. Jerry, what's your thoughts this year? What's it looking like for Pitt's team this year?
Well, I wrote something, back in the spring when Jordan Addison had decided to transfer to USC. I said Pitt would have been special if they had Jordan Addison, even without Kenny Pickett. Without Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison, I think they can be very good because they have 8 guys coming back on defense, 8 starters back on defense. I think Habakkuk Baldonado, the defensive end from Italy, has a chance to be a first-round draft pick. So also Dennis at middle linebacker or outside linebacker has a chance to be a high draft pick next year. And then they're the offense. They're going to emphasize the run more this year just because the Pickett isn't there. And they have 5 starting offensive linemen returning and three of the top running backs returning. But again, I don't know if they're going to be special win 11 games again, but I really believe they can win 8 or 9 and be a contender for the ASC Coastal Championship. And it may come down, Ralph, to that last game against the Hurricanes, I think 2 days after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it seems like we have fits with the Hurricanes, Jerry. I don't know what it is, but now this year it's even going to be even worse because they got Mario Cristobal as their new head coach down there, and Mario wins everywhere he goes. And it seems like, Miami is going to be tough. I think what's your thoughts on the rest of the Coastal Division and some of the ACC? Do you think it's tougher this year or a little bit weaker, or what
I think it's going to be tougher. And you mentioned Miami, and I think that Miami is going to be a better team than they have been in the past. And even though they beat Pitt anyway, even they weren't such a good team. I think Pitt's only won that twice in the whole time they've been in the ACC. But Mario Cristobal came in from Oregon. He's a lifer. He's from Legacy, from Miami, and he came in and he got rid of the turnover chain. Remember the turnover chain? Every time they got an interception or a fumble on defense, they would go to the sidelines and put this chain around their neck and start strutting around. Mario Cristobal, a more business-like guy, a more adult guy, decided we don't need to do that. We're going to play football the way it's supposed to be played. We're not going to strut around just because we fell on a fumble. We're going to play ball, and we're going to get serious about it. And I think they're going to get serious about it. And they have the quarterback this year, Tyler Van Dyke, is going to be this year's ACC Kenny Pickett. He'll probably be the best quarterback in the conference, and a conference that's loaded with real good quarterbacks. Which Van Dyke might be the best, and he might be a number 1 draft pick next year. So I think that Pitt will be competitive. Pitt will win maybe 7 or 8 games, or maybe even 8 games going into that last game. And it'll come down to that last game in Coral Gables, Florida, that Pitt's going to have to win. And, it's going to be difficult to win down there. And Pitt always had trouble winning down there. I don't know if they've won in Miami since 2014, which was Paul Chryst's first season when they needed to get a victory to become bowl eligible. And they did win that game. But this is a different Miami team. There's a lot of talent, as there always is. And like I said, Pitt is going to be good, but just not special.
I see. So my next question to you is, Pat Narduzzi issued a statement recently criticizing former offensive coordinator Mark Whipple. What's your thoughts on what happened with Mark Whipple? I mean, what was the situation there? I keep hearing stories about him and Narduzzi not panning out. I heard that he brought him back this past season only because Kenny Pickett asked for it and things like that. Is that true, or is that?
Well, I think it's accurate that Kenny Pickett wanted Mark Whipple to come back. I don't know that Whipple was going to get fired if it wasn't for Pickett. If Pickett had gone to the NFL a year or sooner, for example, I don't know whether Whipple would have been fired. But I know Pickett wanted Whipple, and Whipple did a good job with Pickett and a good job with Pitt's passing game. And heck, they averaged more than 41 points a game, Ralph. Now Narduzzi, taking a shot at Whipple, we called him stubborn. He said he didn't run the ball enough. Well, then Narduzzi in later on, in a day later, he made a statement. we got a guy like Kenny Pickett. Why not give him the ball? And it's just a matter. It's just a matter of what he's feeling that day. Sometimes he can't help himself.
Right.
I don't think Whipple and Narduzzi were the best of friends. But I think Narduzzi was smart enough to get out of his way, let him call the games and run the offense, and it worked out well. It just goes to show, even with a third string quarterback in the Michigan State game in the Peach Bowl, they almost beat a pretty good Michigan State team with a third string quarterback after Whipple opted out and Nick Patty broke his collarbone. So Whipple had a pretty good thing going with that offense, and it's because they were able to throw the ball with a guy like Jordan Addison and some other guys. This year's going to be a little bit different, maybe a lot different, because they should have a better running game. If they keep those 5 offensive linemen healthy, I think they will run the ball a little bit better. But you know what? They didn't run the ball horrible last year. You got Vincent Davis, you got Izzy Abanikanda, and you got Rodney Hammond Jr., 3 guys who totaled 1,700 yards on the ground. When they got to the fourth quarter of a lot of those victories last season, it was Rodney Hammond, grinding the clock out with the run game. So it was maybe an unbalanced offense in the first 3.5 quarters. Once it got into the fourth quarter, they started to run the ball, but they're going to do that a little bit more this year than just the fourth quarter, I believe.
Do you think that, and this is what some of my media colleagues are saying, and I'm saying that Cignetti, and he's known for running the football. He was worked under Wannstedt. Wannstedt liked to run the football back when he was the head coach. And they're saying we don't have an offensive line for that because all they did was pass under Whipple. Is that the case, or is this going to be? I hope this is not going to be trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. Is that going to be the effect of that? Because we know Cignetti likes to run the football.
Well, these guys the 5 offensive linemen are very experienced guys. They're big guys. They're athletic guys. I think they should be able to run the ball. And Carter Warren at the ACC kickoff meetings last week said he wants to be a guy known, a offensive lineman known as a run blocker, because that's probably going to be his ticket to the NFL. If he can become a road grader and at the same time protect the quarterback's blind side at left tackle, he's going to make himself some money next season. So the offensive linemen are bought into the run game. Of course, Scinetti wants to run the ball, and Narduzzi wants to run the ball because he's old school. And they have 3 good running backs, who I think can put together, good seasons. And you need 2 or 3 running backs these days in any level of football, just because of the punishment these guys take. So I think Pitt has a good chance to have a pretty good running game this year.
Susie's on our comment line, Jerry. She says, good evening to both of us. And your comments are welcome as well. I'm Ralph Williams. This is Sports Corner. We're live here on YouTube and Facebook. My guest, Jerry DEPEOLA from TRIB Live. We're talking about Pitt football. Pitt's getting ready to start their season. Jerry, what's the thought process right now? I understand Brandon Hill is the Jim Thorpe Award. He's on that watch list. I understand 2 defensive linemen currently are on the watch list for an award. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Pitt's defense is going to be good this year. It's interesting, Ralph, in the ACC championship game last year, Kenny Pickett had that 58-yard touchdown run early in the game when he had the fake slide, and he forced the NCAA to change the rule. But the defense really won that game. Eric Howard he was the MVP, the safety. AJ Woods had a big interception return in that game. And in the second half of that game, Wake Forest, they shut down a pretty good quarterback in Sam Hartman. And like I said, 8 of those starters are back this year. So I think that the defense is going to be solid. Now, linebacker, they have some inexperience. They lose John Patrician. Cam Bright transferred to Washington. And Phil Campbell III is also, he exhausted his eligibility. So you got Sebastian Dennis back, and a couple of interesting transfers. Shane Simon from Notre Dame is probably going to get a chance at outside linebacker, and two holdovers from last year. I'm trying to remember their names now. You got me unprepared here.
That's all right.
Bengali Kamara has a big body. He looks like an offensive lineman, and I forget the other guy's name now. It'll come to me later. But they played a little bit last year. Didn't play a lot. So you don't know, how these young guys are going to perform. Shane Simon was decent at Notre Dame, and he's going to be a guy that is going to bring some experience to the position. but they don't have the same productive playmakers. Patrician was a playmaker. Cam Bright was a playmaker. Campbell was a playmaker.
Right, right.
So these linebackers are really going to have to step up and fill the void. Now with Savossier Dennis, I think they have maybe the best linebacker in the ACC.
Right, but he can't do it all. You know what I mean?
No, he can't do it all. They you can't have great players at every position either, Ralph. You
right.
can't
Oh, exactly. I know.
You can't be all ACC at 11 positions, and they have an opportunity to really be good, but maybe not great at linebacker this year. Now, Dennis is going to be a playmaker because you saw what he did in the Clemson game, where he intercepted the shovel pass and took it for a touchdown, which turned that game around.
Absolutely.
So I really think that Dennis is going to have a great year, and he can play inside or middle linebacker or outside. He's a smart guy too. He's a guy that is going to be able to call all the signals and get everybody lined up properly. And that defensive line is going to be really good with Kalijah Cansey and Baldonado and John Morgan, Tyler Bentley. They're deep. Devin Danielson, the kid from Thomas Jefferson, they have some depth at them defensive line, and that's where games are won. Well, in the trenches, the offensive and defensive lines. And that's where Pitt has its most experience on the offensive and defensive line. So
I noticed as you mentioned all the linemen coming back on the offense, which is a good thing for. Who do you think is going to be the quarterback? Is it going to be Slovis, or do you think Nick Patty has an opportunity, or what do you think? I hope that Slovis works out better than Max Brown when he was here from USC.
Well, Max Brown got hurt. I think Max Brown would have been okay, and he didn't have the supporting cast that Slovis is going to have. I think Slovis is going to win the job eventually. Pat Narduzzi doesn't want to talk about who's going to be a starting quarterback because he wants it to be sorted out at training camp, which it will be. I think it'll be Slovis, but you know what? I like what I saw from Nick Patty in a little bit he's played so far at Pitt, especially in the bowl game, that first quarter. He showed a lot of courage, Ralph, running for that touchdown.
Yes, he did.
Michigan State running for the pylon. And if he doesn't get hurt in that game, Pat
we would have won that game. We would have won that bowl game, and it would have been nice.
You sound like Pat Narduzzi. He said they would have won by 14. They would. Even with a third string quarterback, they were driving for a touchdown. Too late in the game, and Davis Bevel threw the interception.
Davis Bevel, I remember that. And then I kept hearing the announcers kept saying, "Well, he don't have no experience, so that's why this is going on and all this and that." And I just said, well, you know what? I said to myself, people have to prepare for games regardless of what side of the quarterback end they are in the room, regardless if they're the 10th string quarterback, they still have to prepare. I mean, so I'm sure Davis Bevel was prepared. He transferred out, I know. And,
Oklahoma.
Yes, exactly.
He back up in Oklahoma. I think Bevel, didn't have the mobility that a guy like Nick Patty or a guy like Kenny Pickett had. And that really held them back in that game. And by the way, Ralph, I remembered another linebacker that's going to be a starter this year, Solomon DeShields. He had a great spring along with Bengali Kamara. And these are two guys that have NFL-type bodies that are going to give Pitt some depth at linebacker. Now, whether they have the production that Patrician and Bright and Campbell had, we don't know yet. But at least they have the athletic ability, and Narduzzi is a defensive guru, so he should coach him up just fine.
Well, that's great. What about these other quarterbacks I see here, Nate Yarnell and Derek Kyler? I know those guys just came into the program. Danny Yellen, he kind of left, didn't he?
Joey Yellen, he transferred to Hawaii.
I'm sorry, I said Danny by accident.
Yeah, he transferred to Hawaii. Not bad what gig if you could find it. I don't think Joey Allen did anything. He played in that Notre Dame game and the Miami game during the COVID year, and he was horrible.
I know. I saw it.
So I really don't
think he's going to the former Fraud Graham team. There is where.
Fraud Graham is gone. Luckily for Hawaii. But
hey, who plays Hawaii this year?
Who's that?
Duquesne.
Oh, that's right. They also play Florida State.
Yeah, they play Florida State this year too, and they play against Florida State. That's not going to be. Those are going to be 3 tough games for them.
They should play Pitt. They should play Pitt.
Yeah, there we go.
I think. I tell you what, Ralph, you're going to see that in a couple years. One of these days, there's going to be an announcement, and Pitt and Duquesne are going to. I know it was going to be a series of games, but I think they're going to play at least one game before the end of this decade.
Do you think that just between you and me here, what opinions? Do you think that there will ever be another Penn State rivalry again with from Pitt and Penn State again, or are we going to go back to this thing again?
Well, you know what? You never know what's going to happen with the realignment of the conferences. You know, what if somehow the Pitt and Penn State end up in the same conference? Let's say in 5 or 6 years or whatever, they go to 3 super conferences, and
Okay.
the powers that be decide they want to put Pitt and Penn State in the same conference.
And West
Uh,
Virginia.
in West Virginia too, maybe. You know,
Right. Yeah.
Pitt depends on how many schools actually will be included in these so-called proposed super conferences. What if it's only 40? What if it's only 2 conferences of 20 teams each? Is there room for Pitt and West Virginia in there? Maybe.
Right.
I think it's better off if they go to 3 conferences for Pitt and within 16 teams each, which would be what 16 times 3 is 48 last I looked. So that I think that's what you might see in 5 or 6 years. Then the conference people might say, let's put Pitt and Penn State in the same conference. And then Penn State may have nothing to say about it. At this point now, since they're in different conferences, and they will be in different conferences for at least a couple more years, I would think, you're not going to see them play because Penn State wants to be part of it. Now, Penn State has a new AD up there, but they have the same head coach. And I think Pitt would do it. I mean, Heather Lyke has been on record saying she wants to. She had, I think she even had a contract written down or written out that she was trying to get Penn State to sign, but they didn't want to do it. So I really, it's the same situation with Pitt not wanting to play Duquesne in basketball as Penn State not wanting to play Pitt in football. You know, there's nothing to be gained, I guess.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
in the Big Ten right now, Penn State already plays 9 conference games. So they have 3 non-conference games that they can schedule. So, you know, maybe Pitt doesn't fit in that formula for them, but Pitt would do it. I think that maybe not every year like it used to be back in the 70s in the good old days, but I think that Pitt would do it. But, you know, unless they get into the same conference somehow in the next X number of years, I don't think you're going to see it.
I see. All right. We were just talking about the quarterbacks here. Let me see. Oh, Athlon Sports. Here we go. Athlon Sports has already predicted Pitt in their pre-bowl predictions to go to the
Oh,
Gator
geez.
Bowl against Florida.
Wow.
Okay. And I read Athlon Sports' publications. They have draft publications. They have a publication for every sport, NBA, hockey, you know, all that stuff. So I read all those publications, and they have Pitt already put in there. And then also ESPN's College Game Day will be at Acrisure Stadium for the Backyard Brawl. Now,
Absolutely. Yep.
what's your thoughts on this Pitt, West Virginia, Backyard Brawl rematches again, and also the naming of Acrisure Stadium?
Well, I'm glad the Backyard Brawl is back. I think the schools have gotten together with contracts to play 8 times, 8 or 9 times, or maybe 8 times in the next 11 years or something like that. So it's something that Pitt and Penn State should do. Now Pitt and West Virginia are doing it. It'll be the first Backyard Brawl since 2011, and West Virginia hasn't lost. Has a winning streak against Pitt. I think it's a 3-game winning streak against Pitt last time they played. It's a game that Pitt needs to win. If Pitt is going to be a national power this year, like they're talking about, they got to beat West Virginia at home. They got to beat Tennessee at home in their first 2 games. If they can't do that, then they're just an also-ran as far as the college football playoff is concerned. Because the only way they're going to open up in the eyes and become relevant again, and they were relevant last year, but to do it again, they're going to have to win those games. They're going to have to open up against West Virginia and beat Neil Brown's team, which isn't going to be a bad team this year. They're not a great team, but they're a beatable team, but they're not a pushover either. And Tennessee, I believe, with Josh Heupel, is going to be one of the surprise teams in the SEC this year. Pitt won down there last year in Knoxville, but coming up here, it's going to be different. Kenny Pickett's not there anymore.
Right.
So if Pitt can open up 2-0, they'll be in good shape, for the rest of the season. But if they struggle, in even one of those games, it's going to knock them out of the top 25, I believe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they need to really have a good season this year, as you mentioned. And, I was just curious. That's why I had you on tonight. I wanted you to bring my audience up to speed on what's going on with Pitt football, what our thoughts were, what your opinion was. I had Craig Meyer on from the Post-Gazette about 2 months ago, and he was talking about, some of the stuff with both Pitt football and basketball and, things like that. Thank you for being on, Jerry. I really appreciate you being on tonight. And
I'm glad I could make it tonight. I've been a little bit busy today. I covered the Pirate game today off of TV, but I'm glad to help you out.
I know you covered the Pirates too a little bit. We could talk a little bit about that if you have a few minutes.
Sure.
What's your thoughts on the Pirates? What do you think going forward past the All-Star game? You know, they always lay an egg. They always seem to fold after the All-Star game. I know Charrington's making sensible trades. At least I think he is a little bit. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I think they folded before the All-Star break. Actually, I really don't think that with the lineup they put out there these days. Unless O'Neal Cruz really catches fire and starts learning how to hit the curveball, I think they're going to have a hard time. Winning 65 or 70 games this year. I think they're going to be, it's going to be another 100 loss season the way looking today. They're not hitting the ball at all. They played 5 games since the All-Star break, and they've only scored 11 runs in those 5 games. They always play close games, Ralph. The starting pitching has
Yeah,
been
I
better.
know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Starting pitching has been pretty good lately.
Yeah, the bullpen's the one, Jerry. It's been laying an egg. I mean,
Yeah, but
Bettner even
even
came out
Bednar.
and laid one yesterday. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
so it's been, yeah,
yeah.
you
So
know, so
I think it's a tough job that Ben Cherington have trying to rebuild this team. Because the owner doesn't want to spend any money. And
true.
then you look at the best teams in the league in baseball are the ones who spend money, and the
Right.
Pirates just haven't done that for a long time. It was nice those 3 years when they went to the playoffs and it was exciting and everything. They kind of caught lightning in a bottle. Because I wonder, unless these young kids who are down in single A and double A right now, guys like Quinn Priester and Jack Sawinski, guys like that, and Cruz can learn to hit the curveball instead of striking out as much. He had a heck of a home run today.
Right.
Straight away center field into the wind at Wrigley Field. So I think that Cruz has a chance to be a really good player. He has to control himself a little bit on his throws from shortstop. They go about a million miles an hour, but they're not always accurate. Poor
Right.
Michael
Well,
Davis.
I'll tell you a
Trying
little story, Jerry. I played Little League Baseball. Okay. I had a really strong arm, and my coach always put me in the outfield because of my arm strength. Okay. I gunned people down. So I was known in Little League for having a strong arm, and people didn't really run on me too much. They put me at third base, and I'm a left-hander, so you know what that's like. Okay. They
right,
put me
yeah,
at third base a couple times. I threw the ball so hard that there was smoke coming out of the first baseman's glove. And he actually said he didn't want me there no more because of that. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to
yeah.
field too when you're a left-hander at third base, but I seem to work it out pretty good. You know what I
Well,
mean? But still,
today Cruz threw one way over the first baseman's head today. It didn't land in the stands only because there's a net there because
Oh,
it
jeez.
wasn't even close to the guy's glove.
Wow.
But
He's
the
got
thing
to
about
slow it down a little bit, you
the thing
know?
about Cruz is, which I think is he has a chance to be a really good player, maybe even a great player, is because even if he stumbles at shortstop and even if he bobbles the ball, he has enough arm strength, to get the out at
That's it.
first
Yeah,
base.
exactly. Yeah.
So he doesn't
Yeah.
have to field every ball cleanly to get the out. And he's done that a few times this year where I see him stumble, and all of a sudden you think the guy's going to beat it out, and he throws him out anyway because he's throwing at 98 mile an hour. But he strikes out too much right now. But he's a rookie; he's only 23 years old. He has 6 home runs. I think that's leads the National League rookies since June 20th, which was the day he came up. So I think that he's going to be a good player. And there's some other players in the minor league system that they have a chance to be really good. I'd like to see them, keep Brian Reynolds around. Although Reynolds, has really been a streaky guy this year. Right now he's 0 for 8 after coming back off the oblique injury. But I think in the long run, Brian Reynolds is going to be a very good player, for some team, whether it's the Pirates or somebody else, at some point in his career, because he takes the game so seriously and he's so talented.
Right.
I'm surprised.
Right.
I'm surprised he's hitting 250. I really thought he'd be close to 300 hitter
So,
this
yeah,
season.
I thought he'd have the year he had last year. I mean,
And the thing about it is, Ralph, there's
yeah,
nobody around to protect him either, so he's not getting a lot of
that's
pitches to hit.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's difficult for a guy you only have one really good hitter on your team. It's difficult for him to be a good hitter because the pitchers will pitch around you.
Right, exactly. One other question I have here. I heard an exclusive rumor from some folks, and I don't know if it's true or not. Is Derek Shelton just holding down the fort? Do you believe that they're going to look for somebody like John Russell held the fort down, and they brought in Clint Hurdle? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think they. I think Derek Shelton is a keeper. I think he's a good manager.
Okay.
He knows
I
baseball.
mean, I'm just going by what I heard some
Well,
rumors floating around.
I think that's crazy. I think that's a crazy rumor. I think Shelton's going to be a good manager. If he had some talent around him, he'd be a better manager. He
Right,
really
right. I
doesn't have any
understand.
talent around him. So, in my opinion, I don't think he's just holding he's a placeholder for somebody else. Who are you going to get?
You're right. Well, no, I understand that. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, but I've always said there's guys like Joe Madden and Joe Girardi out there, and Madden's good at working with young talent. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Madden doesn't want to Madden doesn't want to coach the Pirates, and neither does Girardi.
Well, I know it's all who would come here too. That's another
Yeah,
story.
right. But I think Shelton's going to be a good manager. I think he's a good guy. He gets along with his players. He knows baseball. He's a good hitting coach. They just have to have some talent, for him to win.
Yeah.
Managers can't win games by themselves, but he sticks
No.
up for his guys. He sticks up for his guys. That's one thing he has in common with Pat Narduzzi. He's not afraid to speak his mind when there's something
Right.
wrong out there, because you saw Shelton come out of the dugout, once a game, to talk to umpires, whether it's an argument or just a discussion.
Oh, I've seen him do that. Oh,
Yeah, so
absolutely. At least
he
he does
has his
that a lot. Oh, I love it when he does that.
He has his
And then
players' backs. Yeah.
yeah,
He has their
exactly.
backs, which makes him, in my book, a good manager.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was just throwing out some rumors that I had heard, and so there were some rumors floating around that he was just holding down the fort until they can find a more experienced guy. So
Well,
I don't know,
he's going to be experienced. This is his third season right now.
right?
So,
Yeah,
and he's been around baseball a long time before he became a manager.
and before, right?
So when the Pirates are supposed to be good, I think somebody said something. I heard somebody say, "Well, they may be good in 2027." If that's true, I think Shelton will be the manager in 2027. In my opinion,
27, right,
yeah.
right. What about the draft picks? Now, I understand they picked 18 pitchers out of 20 draft picks. Do you think they overstockpiled, or they needed to get some other positions in there as
No,
well,
you
or
can
arms
never
they
have.
do need?
You can never have too many pitchers. I think you need to stockpile with young pitchers, because it takes them a while to get up here too. And right now, their pitching staff has been okay lately, but you really don't have any really solid starting pitchers that they can count on, for the future.
Oh,
Maybe
wow, yeah.
Brubaker will turn into somebody like that. Quintana they're going to trade. Mitch Keller has been up and down. He's up right now, but is he a good guy for the future? Who knows?
I call him the roller coaster.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's just,
He's up now, but
he's up now, but then
sometimes.
who knows when he'll come back down? You know what
But
I mean?
I think they drafted, they got good infielders. I mean, they have pretty well stocked on the infield right now, especially the middle infield. Brian Hayes is going to hold down third base. They probably need a first baseman, and they probably need a regular first baseman who can hit 30 home runs. But you got to pay for that, and they don't want to do that. So I think Cherington did the right thing and leaning on his pitching picks in this year's draft.
Well, that's good. Jerry, it's great that we could reunite like this. I remember when you were on my show when I was back in the 90s, when I had my sports show on PCTV. I'm back again. I have this show on TV there. And it's every first Thursday of the month. We have a live call-in show, myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. And so
I know Smoking Jim. Yeah, I see him around.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so we're on every first Thursday of the month on PCTV at 6 p.m. with a live call-in show. You're invited anytime, so let me know when your schedule fits, and we'll get you on. So
Usually after 9 o'clock, I pretty much wrapped up for the day as far as work goes, and I can relax and do something like this. Earlier in the day, in the evening, when I have a deadline,
right.
it's difficult. But right now, I'm just sort of relaxed, and I enjoyed talking to you tonight, Ralph.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on, Jerry. We'll have you come on again and talk some more about Pitt and the Pirates, and maybe we'll have you come on when basketball season gets started for Pitt. And
Okay.
talk about Pitt basketball. I hope they do better this year than they have in the past.
So, you and a lot of other people hope that too. But
I know, yeah, exactly.
But you know what, Ralph? Quinn Hurdle once told me, "Hope is not a plan. You better have a better plan than just hope." Hopefully they do. We'll see.
Hey, you know what Tim Robbins said in Shawshank Redemption? Hope is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's right. It is a good thing, but
you can't. Hope is a good thing.
But you can't count on it, though, Ralph. That's the problem.
No, you can't. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
Not
right.
at all.
Right.
So, what's your thoughts on Acrisure Stadium? I just want your thoughts real quick.
I don't care. I like Heinz Field because it was a nice, quick two-word name. It's only two syllables. And now I got to look it up every time I want to use it to make sure I'm spelling it right.
Hey,
And
hey, Bill Hillgrove got to do it for 2 teams.
I know.
I'm interested to see how that. Can you imagine if Myron Cope was still around? He'd be like, "Ah,
No,
yeah, Acrisure
he would
Stadium."
he would call it Heinz Field. You know what? What if these teams are playing in Acrisure Stadium all of a sudden aren't getting along with each other? You're going to have to call it Acrimony Stadium, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. I like that. That
Yeah,
is a
but
good
I
one.
I have no
Yeah,
problem. Hey, it was $10 million a year for 15
yeah.
years, $150 million, which is $100 million more than they got from Heinz. It's a
Yeah.
good deal. Who
Well,
cares?
Heinz is staying involved. They're just gonna.
Yeah,
It's in a small way. I mean,
but
but
they didn't want
they're
to. They
still
didn't want
gonna
to.
have. Yeah.
But they didn't want to commit $150 million.
Right. Right.
Aqua sure wanted to, and you got
Yeah.
to give Art Rooney credit for finding them and getting them to come on board because in this day and age, the teams with the money, whether it's college sports or pro sports, those are the ones that win.
Well, it's not only with the money too, Jerry. You got to understand, our local politicians around here, the Rad Board barely gave the Rooney's money to put those new seats in there and that scoreboard. Okay. And,
Right.
Rooney really had to fight to get that. And I mean, tooth and nail. And I think, and I believe with this deal, when he says he's going to put money back into Heinz, or excuse me, wow, Acrisure
There you
Stadium.
go
Jeez,
again.
I
Right.
can't even. Yeah. So
Mhm.
anyway, he's going to put money into Acrisure Stadium with this. And I believe that that's probably what the situation is. You do know the Pirates recently got something from the Rad Board to fix up, but they had to raise their ticket prices for umpteen years for $1 a
One
ticket or
dollar.
whatever.
$1.
Yeah,
That's not such a big deal. $1, is it? I
right,
mean,
right. No,
if you
but
take a
I'm
step,
saying the Rad Board's sending a message now that you're not going to get a free ride anymore. You know what I mean? And I think that
exactly,
and
exactly.
and they did it when they argued with the Steelers about even giving them that money for that. So I'm glad that Rooney was at least able to, secure private funds that'll
Right.
come from this rather than
Mhm.
coming to the taxpayers. Because in this day and age, you've seen in some other cities, taxpayers don't want to fork the money up for stadiums at all.
The
You
other thing
know,
to watch, Ralph, and I think we should watch this in maybe 7 or 8 years. But they tore down Three River Stadium. It was 30 years old. Okay, Acrisure Stadium is 21 years old,
I know
and
that. Yeah.
so where are we going to be in 7 years from now when
Uh,
Acrisure is 28 years old?
it's
Are we going to
old.
be talking about a new stadium, or are we going to make?
That's what everyone's saying. I mean, all of our fellow media
Mhm.
colleagues are all saying the same story. They think that probably in the next 10 years or so, Art Rooney II, if he's still around at the time, could ask for a new stadium. And
Yeah.
are the taxpayers going to be willing to flip it? I mean, that's going to be the whole problem here.
Well, they shouldn't. I hope they don't, but
Right, right,
that seems the way
yeah,
things go. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, and if they
right,
keep the stadium in good condition, maybe it'll last,
yeah.
in 40 years or so, or
Yeah, and
35
there's
or
a
40
lot of people who have said that Heinz Field's a dump. And Smoking Jim and I had this discussion about 2 months ago on our TV show. I said, what's your thoughts about Heinz Field? And he had said that he had sat down with Roger Goodell for lunch one time when he was here 5, 6 years ago. And Roger Goodell said there'll never be a Super Bowl here, and and so on and so forth. And that this place is not a dump, but more or less not one of the higher, classier stadiums in the
Right.
entire league. It's a simple, bare bones stadium,
Exactly.
and
That's the way they wanted to build it, and
right.
you can't even see the city skyline anymore. From inside Acrisure Stadium, like you can at PNC Park, which makes PNC
Absolutely.
Park,
Yeah.
much better place to go. I just wish that there was a reason for baseball fans to go to PNC Park to see a winning team.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody goes there because they say they like the view, they like the sight of the ball, they like the atmosphere of the ballpark. I was just there. I like the atmosphere of the ballpark. The food wasn't all that great, and I let it be known. And I sit because I'm handicapped, and I sit in 142 out there in the outfield behind that fence. That's usually where I sit
Uh-huh.
because I'm handicapped, and I don't choose to sit out in the sun in the hot heat. So I decide to sit there, or at least I'm in the shade through the whole game. And then if it rains, I have a seat right there. I don't have to move. I don't have to go nowhere. I don't have to go under shelter. It's a great place for me to sit. And the food stands around there were horrible. The food was nasty. I paid all that
Oh
money
yeah,
for what I mean for
really?
the food, and I didn't like it. I thought
Yeah.
my mom and my wife were with me, and it was terrible. It was bad. It was a bad food experience.
Sometimes
I
it's
was
better to stay home on your couch, right, Ralph?
That's right. You know, my wife's
Mhm.
late father said the best view of the house is in front of your TV set. You know,
Mhm.
my grandfather was the same way. You know, and
Exactly.
if he didn't get free tickets, he didn't go, either
Exactly.
Steelers or Pitt games.
And they're
You know,
expensive
so
too. They're expensive these days.
oh, it's tough, man. You got a
Mhm.
loan. I mean, you know, so
Yep.
you gotta take out a loan, man. It's terrible. Hey,
Yep.
Jerry, thank you once again for being on the show. I really appreciate it. We'll have you on again, like I said, later on, talk about Pitt basketball, probably around November or so, whenever they get started. And we'll have you back on, talk about that as well and some other things. And thank you again. Have a great night. Be safe. And we'll
Okay,
talk to you
Ralph.
again. Thank
Nice
you.
chatting with you. Nice chatting with you.
Same here.
Bye
Thanks.
bye. Bye.
Bye. All right, that was Jerry DePaula from the TRIB Live. He was, we had him on here tonight, talk about Pitt football and some Pirates. He covers the Pirates as well for TRIB Live. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Derek Sheldon is still going to be the manager. There's no plans because I heard some stories that he was just going to be another John Russell, where he was going to be here just to hold the fort down until they find somebody. Like Jerry said, and I've said this many times, what manager would really experience-wise would really want to come here and manage the Pirates and have to put up with owner Bob Nutting? Okay, Derek Sheldon at least is a young guy who perhaps, I mean, I know he's going through some growing pains as a manager. Everybody does, but we have everybody out here sitting there going this and that about Derek Sheldon. Well, let me ask you this question: who are you going to get to come in here? Comment section wide open about we're talking about the Pirates. We're going to start talking a little bit about the Steelers a little bit and the Pens and other sports. We have a lot to still talk about here. We're here till 10 o'clock. Special edition. We start at 9 o'clock to accommodate our guest, Jerry DePaula, tonight. I am Ralph Williams. This is Sports Corner. I am Pittsburgh's forgotten son. Now, I'm going to blast somebody here tonight on one of my fellow media colleagues, and I don't care if he blocks me off of Facebook. I don't care if he doesn't talk to me again. I don't care when I see him at a Steeler or a Pitt game as part of the media that he doesn't talk to me. I don't care. But what I don't like is ignorance, and I don't like rudeness, and I don't like this at all. Okay, comes on Facebook, this guy, and he knows who I'm talking about because I relay through another media person, a friend of mine, who was out at camp today to tell Alan Saunders, thank you. And that's who it is, Alan Saunders. Alan Saunders, I got something to say to you tonight, okay? All right. I emailed you and I asked you if you would be a guest on my program. All you simply had to do was say yes or no. Okay. You didn't even respond to me. And then every other week, I hear you on 93.7 The Fan. Okay. Alan, what's wrong with me? What is wrong with me, Alan? Do you have a problem that you don't want to be on my program? Do you don't like my abrasive attitude? Okay. And I said this last night on The Way I See It. If you don't want me to blast you or say something about you on here, return my emails, return my phone calls. I do it for everyone else. I expect it to be done with me. Do you understand? Okay. And I'll block you out too, and I don't care. I don't need you. But what I did was kindly ask you to be on my program. All you had to do was answer me with a simple yes or a no. You didn't even bother to even respond back to me. Now, you think that makes me feel less of this? No, but it makes you look bad because I am not the upscale person than some of the other people in this town. Some of them don't have the voice for radio and need to go bye-byes and have been around too long. Again, I'm not going to go into that tonight because I got way too much to talk about, okay? But I wanted to do this tonight because Alan Saunders was on Facebook bragging about how he's at Steeler training camp. He took that kind of time to do that tonight, but you didn't take the time to return my email or my phone call. Okay, Alan? You know what? I don't need you. I don't want you on my program now because I don't like ignorance, and that's ignorance to me because I return everybody's emails and I return everybody's phone calls. And you know what, Alan? Someday you're going to need me. And guess what? I'm not I don't want to deal with you, okay? All right? It takes one time to do this stuff, okay? All right? I got Jerry on tonight for the first time. All right. And I know there's been a few times he's but at least Jerry had the decency to call me up and say, "Hey, Ralph, I can't make it. I have a problem." I would accept that. Okay. But I don't accept ignorance. All right. So we're done because I got too much to talk about tonight. All right. Let's talk about the Steelers. They started training camp today. There's a lot of battles, a lot of different positions. Some people have their 53-man rosters out. August the 4th, PCTV, Channel 21 Comcast, 47 Verizon, Allegheny County, and live on PCTV's Facebook page, Sports Corner, TV Edition, with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. Okay? He and I are going to have our 53-man roster, preliminary. Everyone else has done one, so why not us? All right? So, but right now, I want to discuss a couple things. There's been a lot of Ben Roethlisberger tweets and statements made this coming week. Now, my question about Ben is whether or not some of this stuff might have been taken out of context. Okay? Because stuff on the internet, if you ever watch watch some of the videos or you read statements on the internet, sometimes can be taken out of context. Okay. Also, our own media in the news, the radio, whatever, can take things out of context. Okay. That has happened many times. Okay. And I don't know if it's a mistake or if it's something that's just happened or if they didn't carefully listen to what the person had to say or whatever. Okay. All I know is that maybe these statements were taken out of context. Ben Roethlisberger has been said that he blames his teammates for not stepping up during games in order for them to either get further to the Super Bowl or to further along in the playoffs. All right. Okay, so you're retired now. All right. You're playing golf, you're having fun, spending time with the family, going out and having a couple brewskis, whatever it is you're doing, Ben. Whatever it is you're doing. But there's one thing that you're doing a lot more of now than you did when you were a player is you're running your trap. Okay? You are running your trap. And you know what's interesting? You're making yourself embarrassed. All right? Now, I know this for a fact, Ben, and you better not even think about talking about somebody else. Okay? I know a guy who's a manager of a couple of different establishments. And this guy told me this, okay? And I heard it straight out of several service people's horses' mouths. Why? Because I've been in the service business, customer service, for 35 years. My wife and I combined have close to 70 years of experience, all right, in customer service. So I've done some serving jobs, met some servers who have met you, met some servers that have seen you, I know a couple managers of a couple of establishments that told me that you would walk in and say, "I'm Ben Roethlisberger. I don't have to pay for my food." Okay. So before you sit there and go on and on about your prior teammates, about how they didn't do this, or Antonio Brown didn't do that, or Le'Veon Bell did this, or somebody did that, and I'm not supposed to help out Mason Rudolph. That's not my job, or it's not my job to help Kenny Pitt. It's not this. It's not that. Okay. You make all these comments, and look at what you've done. Okay. Now I know you're you're married, you got a family, you're a born again Christian. I understand that, and I'm glad. I'm happy with that. Okay. All right. And I know a DJ that you called that you needed a DJ for, and you were willing to. You needed a DJ for your wedding. I was there when the phone call came through. All right, because I happen to know this prominent DJ in this town, and I was there, and I was with him when the phone call came through. And I remember you telling him, "Oh, I'll give you, I'll pay for another DJ. I want you to do my wedding." And he was trying to explain to you about a contract, something that you should know, okay? And he did, and he explained it to you, okay? And you still were pushy about it. "I'm Ben Roethlisberger." You called up, you went, "This is Ben." Well, you know what? You know something? I know about I don't know, 20 Bens in my life. Okay. You're not the only Ben in this world or in this city. Okay. So he didn't know who you were. Okay. Because he follows sports, but you understand what I'm saying? And he has prominent friends with the Steeler organization because of his uncle. All right. You called him up, you asked for a DJ. He said, I have a contract that day. He tried to tell you that. I was there when he took the phone call. All right. So, Ben, before you even say one word about anything, you better take a look at what your actions. All right. That scandal that happened and you had to apologize. The Steelers almost traded you. Okay. I lost total respect for you as well for a long time. Then I said, okay, fine. He's gotten married. He's got a family. He's grew up a little bit. Try to become a leader. Okay. The Steelers asked you to come back. They gave you $14 million for one more season. I know you took a beating. I understand that. Then you said bad things about the Steelers, about how Kevin Colbert forced you out, about how this, that, and whatever. Okay, Ben? Got a lot of nerve, man. Steelers paid you a lot of money. A lot of nerve. Okay? All right? And I know it's a two-way street, team and player. I understand that. It should be, or supposed to be, a two-way street. Okay? But when you make comments, whether they're taken out of context or not, you shouldn't even open your mouth to begin with. You're retired. When a retired athlete's supposed to be retired, most athletes, at least most of the Steelers, like Troy Polamalu and some other people, they go away. They go out into the sunset. They go play golf. They go, well, you're playing golf, but I mean, they don't make derogatory, silly statements like this and make yourself look bad. Okay? An opinion, that's one thing. But to continue to make statements about the organization who now you're biting the hand that fed you all these years. Okay? It's a business. All right? I know what happened to you and Troy was sad. And I was the first person to criticize the Steelers for that. I didn't want you back this last season. I thought you were done. Just like the Steelers. But they had to bring you back because they had no other option. And I'm starting to agree with some of my other media friends here who said, and I quote, if it wasn't for Ben being back, the Steelers wouldn't have been where they were. And you know what? I was wrong. But you see, Ben, there's a difference between me and these other media types. And I'll admit when I'm wrong. Other media types will not in this town. Okay? I always admit when I'm wrong. So that's a difference there. All right? Former number one draft pick Charles Johnson passed away this past week. Sad to hear that. 50 years old. It was tough to hear that. Charles was a good athlete in the 90s. He was a good wide receiver for the Steelers. Steelers cut one running back, Trey Edmonds. Wow. Oh, my gosh. Jeez. Yeah. I'm glad he's gone. He was a bum. I wanted Terrell Edmonds out too, but that's beside the point. He tested the free agent market, Terrell Edmonds, found out there was no keepers for him because they know what he's about. He only had one good season. That was last year. All right. He shouldn't have been picked at number one anyway. He was graded number 3 or 4th round pick. The Steelers reached for him. They had a chance to get Lamar Jackson. They passed him over and went and took Terrell Edmonds. Okay. So the Steelers now have to eat this. But now they re-signed him to a 1-year contract, okay, which is feasible for them. And let's see what he does. Maybe he will get picked up by another team. The Steelers won't pay him. If he has another good year, maybe the Steelers might pay him. Maybe they'll give him a few-year more contract. But Trey Edmonds really didn't do anything. He didn't do much at all. So now that breaks up that family dynamic. Remember, it was the Edmonds, the Davises, like the 4C commercial where they said the 4C breadcrumbs of the Davis family or the cheese of the grated cheese of the Davis family. Yeah, 4C for the Davis family and the rest of them. Okay. So that's going to break up as well. And speaking of Ben, he's throwing out the first pitch this Friday night at the Pirate game. Enjoy, Ben. Enjoy your retirement. But I have some advice for you. Keep your mouth shut. Okay. Just go out in the sunset. Go out with your family. Go do some things. All right. Enjoy your life. Go to the Bahamas. Go to Florida. Go to Hawaii. Go wherever you're going to go. Okay. But keep your mouth shut because you open your mouth, stick your foot in it like some other people, and it makes you look embarrassing and makes the organization look bad. Okay. The organization has looked bad enough as it is. They don't need to look any more badder because of your comments. All right. So today they signed Jeremy McNichol, running back, played for the Titans. He was a backup. He has some experience, so that's good news. Okay. Training camp will be over. There'll be some free agents out there. The Steelers always seem to find somebody on the scrap heap, as I say, as a used car. Maybe they can find someone who might be able to be in a good backup since Benny Snell stinks. So we'll see what Benny Snell does now. Okay. Because now there's some more competition here. I think Mateo Durant's going to make the roster. He was an undrafted free agent from North Carolina, or I'm sorry, Duke. Okay. All right. And Duke was a passing team, with Cutcliffe at coach. Now they have a new coach. So now they're gonna probably run the football, but Mateo Durant ran the ball as much as he could there based on what was there. All right. So, but he's a good running back. I think he's going to be he's my Cam sleeper. All right. Anything's better than Smell. Anything's better than Edmonds, and anything's better than McFarland. McFarland hasn't done anything. Okay, he's been hurt. That was the Dino Tomlin pick because his son Dino Tomlin went to school with him, and Matt Canada coached him. So he knew McFarland, so he drafted him. Anthony McFarland hasn't done anything. He's another one. Najee Harris is going to need backup this year because you can't run the wheels off of Najee Harris. You would think that perhaps, and I'm thinking that's the same story not that Tomlin shouldn't learned a lesson not to run Najee Harris like you ran Willie Parker's wheels off. Okay. Now, Larry Ogunjobi had a press conference today and press statement. Said his foot is fine. He's ready to play football. Good. We need him. Okay. It's an upgrade. It's a Tuitt fill-in. Okay. But we have some good backups on the team. Ortavius Adams from the scrap heap. Mondo should do pretty good. He's got one more year under his belt. Chris Wormley. We got a pretty good bunch there if they stay healthy. You got Tyson Alawalu coming back. You got Cam Hayward. He's a installment there. So, it's going to be an interesting scenario. See where the line goes this year. Outside backup linebackers are a problem. Still a little bit of a problem. But I have some small Pens news. I talked about the trades last week. I think the trades they made, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on them. We're going to wait and see. I thought they would get a little more younger instead of older, okay? Because now it's about speed now, and they've been getting out hustled and outplayed and out everything for a long time now since they won the back-to-back Stanley Cups. And I think they need to get more speed. They need to get younger players. They need to get hungry players. They need to get some more of that into the team, okay? Keep Crosby and Malkin. Keep your foundation, okay? But I say this. They should have took this money that they gave Malkin. And if it wasn't for Crosby, Malkin wouldn't be here, all right? Because at the last minute, Crosby went and talked to Malkin, talked to the team, got them to sit down. He brokered the deal for the contract, and they got it handled. Another thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize is I think Ron Hextall and Brian Burke saved their jobs. Because this is going to be a field year for the Fenway Group. I've said that many times on this program because Fenway is the new owners of the Pens. Lemieux and Burkle are what they call minority owners. They're going to be staying in the background. Lemieux's going to finally get a chance to enjoy his life not being around hockey. Okay, he's just going to be like a minority owner. Fenway Group owns them. They call the shots. They have deep pockets. I think they're going to bring. If Hextall and Burke don't seem to work out right, I think they're going to bring in some other people, and that's the way, taking it from my show on Monday nights, the way I see it. All right, AFC North. Speaking of football, we're going to do a couple different things here. Since he has hired Mike Zimmer's uh, Mike Zimmer, former Minnesota coach, his son Adam, to be their coach in the defensive backfield. So that's good for them. Cleveland Browns, I have some stuff to say about Cleveland. They're looking for a new stadium. I guess they're not satisfied with the one they have now, and they're looking for a new stadium. So that's and Baltimore. Baltimore's trying to stay under. They're having issues with the cap, like the Steelers had last year. I don't feel bad for them at all. Because they're in the AFC North, and we have to play them twice a year. So we did better against them and Cleveland last year than we did against Cincinnati. Cincinnati beat us twice. We would have at least won one of those games, the Steelers. It would have probably been all right. But, we ended up losing them all. Other Pittsburgh sports, the Riverhounds beat the Hartford Athletic 2-1. That was a great game. I saw part of the ending of it. It was super duper. Good for the Riverhounds as they move along. Last week, I featured on here on Sports Corner, I featured Duquesne football. Tonight, we're going to talk about Robert Morris football. As you know, Bernard Clark is their coach. And their season opener is September 3rd, Joe Walton Stadium against Dayton. Dayton's always has a good football team and a good basketball team. All right. They seem to have Robert Morris's number every year, and they seem to have Duquesne's number in basketball because they're in the A10 in basketball. Football, I believe they're in this conference that Robert Morris is in football here. All right, September 10th, they play Miami of Ohio at Miami. So, you might see Ben there. That's where he played college football. Maybe he'll be there. You'll see him eating a hot dog or something. So there we are with that. That's in Oxford, Ohio, and they play Eastern Tennessee State and Appalachian State. Robert Morris has a tough schedule. They squeaked out some games last year. Bernard Clark, I would think this is probably, I believe it's his third season. Needs to get it together. The COVID seasons have run out for excuses for coaches. And Bernard Clark now with Robert Morris, this is going to be his third season. No COVID. Let's see what Robert Morris is made of. Okay, in football this year. Appalachian State, they're always tough. That's going to be tough sledding for Robert Morris, Duquesne. I told you their schedule last week. They have some tough sledding going on as well, and it's going to be an interesting year for them as well. All right, Tampa Bay has, and let's get into some other sports here. Jacksonville Jaguars signed quarterback Kyle Sloter. Kyle Sloter played in the USFL this year. He had a great year for New Orleans. I watched him. I know. Because as you know, I covered the Maulers this year. And I'm interested to see if the Maulers are going to let me do it again. Because the Maulers are coming home for the 2023 season. And let me see the Maulers put me out to pasture because I'm going to be an angry man. I covered the Maulers when no one else would. Okay? So let me see the Maulers try to do that to me like some of these other media types in this town. Okay? All right. Kyle Randolph, experienced tight end. They brought him in. Another weapon for Tom Brady. We'll see Tampa Bay, the Steelers will this year. Bud Dupree, former Steeler linebacker for the Titans, one of the most overpaid, underperformed linebackers in the league this year, which, of course, is to be expected. He was always like that. He had one good season with us because he was looking for a contract. When he hurt his knee, it got even worse for him. So the Titans are eating it now because he had to stay. He was out most of last year because of that knee. So, I mean, it wasn't like so the Vikings have reached or have signed quarterback Nate Stanley. All right, so they've added him to their roster. Okay, XFL. XFL has officially announced all their first eight teams that they're going to have come in spring. They're going to be competition for the USFL. You also have this Major League Football. The first coach for the Major League Football Spring Football League. They announced coach will be Jerry Glanville, but they don't know what team he's going to coach yet. All right, but the XFL has 8 teams to start. Arlington, Texas has a team. Bob Stoops Former Oklahoma quarterback. He coached some of these, the Alliance of American Football and some of these other, XFL league before, and the Prison League and all this other stuff. So Houston, well, the return of Wade Phillips to Houston. What a wonderful surprise. Wade Phillips is the head coach for the Houston team. The Orlando team, Terrell Buckley. A lot of these guys, former, coaches, head coaches that really didn't make it in the NFL, but seem to do well, in this kind of a what they call atmosphere, this kind of a circuit as far as football goes. Anyway, Orlando is going to be coached by Terrell Buckley. Las Vegas. Now, I don't know what the name of their team is going to be, but their coach is going to be Rod Woodson, former Steeler, Baltimore Raven, San Francisco 49er. Rod Woodson will be their coach. That'll be pretty interesting. San Antonio, here we go. Hines Ward, who should be in the Hall of Fame, but is not at this time. Hines Ward, former Steeler wide receiver. He was wide receivers coach with the Jets. He was an intern with the Steelers as a coach. I thought the Steelers would sign him as a wide receivers coach. They went with Ike Hilliard and fired him and brought in someone else this year, so we'll see how that works out. But anyway, there we are with that. Next, Seattle, Jimmy Haslett. Wow. He was with the Washington Commanders for a little while as their defensive coordinator. Has been around the league. He was the head coach in New Orleans for a little while, and so now he's back. He's back. He's going to be the head coach of Seattle. All right, the next one is going to be Anthony Beckett, and he will be the new coach of the St. Louis team. Now, get this: St. Louis is having football for the first time in a while. The Rams jumped ship, went back to L.A. Now, the facilities that they're going to play in, Las Vegas is to be determined. Okay, so there we are with that. Orlando, they're going to play at Camp World Stadium. San Antonio will play at the Alamo Dome. Seattle will play at Lumen Field. Okay. St. Louis, watch this now. You ready? The Dome. The Dome. Oh, my gosh, the Dome. How you like that? Washington, D.C. is fielding a team, and they're going to play at Audi Field. Okay. I don't have who the Washington coach is yet. That hasn't been released, it seems like. All the other teams seem to have been released. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hang on. Reggie Barlow is the Washington coach. Reggie Barlow is will be the Washington coach. Sorry about that. I forgot, but I found it right here. There we are. Reggie Barlow. So there's your coaches. There's the fields, and there's everything. The XFL, which is now owned by Dwayne Rocky Maivia Johnson. He owns the team. And The Rock says that you're a jabroni. There you go. Speaking of wrestling, Thursday night, don't forget 8 p.m. Blog Talk Radio, Wrestle Talk with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Mark Mancini. Our guest again this week is going to be Clinton Truder. He was on a few weeks back. We talked wrestling with him. He's a wrestling guru and also a Atlanta sports. He wrote a book about Atlanta sports. I'm trying to get him on the show. He was supposed to be on last week, but we had some technical issues on his side. And we have rectified the technical issues on my side. So we're going to try to work that out again with him. All right, NCAA football, I'm sorry, Randall Cunningham has resigned as chaplain of the Las Vegas Raiders. I didn't know he was. I read an article about this, and I'm going to share it with you tonight that he became an ordained minister after football, which is great for him. So anyway, Georgia football has announced that Kirby Smart has signed an extended contract, which is great. Kirby Smart deserves it. Georgia was in won the national championship, and it was great to see them do that. Beat Alabama. Tired of seeing Alabama every year. Nick Saban and his gang. It was great to see them go down this year. Jackson State coach Deion Sanders has made a statement that he wants to play Alabama. So there we are. How you like that one? Deion Sanders at it again. See what he does there as well. He wants to put Alabama on the schedule, so they're going to have to work that out. Keith Olbermann. Everybody knows Keith Olbermann, right? He's that guy that was the reporter on ESPN, and he had a talk show on there for a little while. Kind of got fired, kind of resigned, kind of retired kind of thing. They kind of pushed him out a little bit. And he had his own show on Fox for a little while and some other entities. Well, now he's going to start a podcast. Oh, wow. And aren't we all? There we are. iHeartMedia, he's going to start one. And the Le'Veon Bell, okay, the Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson boxing fight has been postponed till September because the fighters on the undercard, there's some fighters on the undercard who are not cleared by medical staff to box. So they canceled the entire event till September. And this has been Sports Corner. I'm Ralph Williams. I want to thank Jerry DePaula. He was on with us talking Pirates, talking Pitt football, and a whole lot more right here on Sports Corner. We're here every Tuesday night, normally at 8 o'clock. Tonight we're on at 9 to accommodate Jerry. And it was great to have him on tonight. As usual, I always switch the time around to accommodate guests because it's always good to have a guest on every now and again on the show. Not that I, not that I never have enough to talk about. I always do, and you know that. But anyway, it was nice to have him on tonight. It's a reunion of sorts, as I mentioned while we were interviewing, that he and I had him on my show once before on PCTV Channel 21 Comcast, 47 Verizon back in the 90s when I used to have my show on there the first time. It was called Sports Talk with Ralph Williams, and now I'm back with Sports Corner. Not going anywhere. All right. You can catch my show on PCTV, Channel 21 Comcast, 47 Verizon Cable. You can catch it on, Saturday, 5 p.m. Myself, Smoking Jim Frazier. Don't forget Thursday night, 347-205-9631 is the number for you to listen to. We're going to be on 45 minutes this Thursday because we have a lot to talk about on Wrestle Talk. I'm going to give you a prime example. We're going to go over the ROH pay-per-view, which was tremendous, okay? We're going to talk about AEW wrestlers defecting to the WWE now because of Vince McMahon stepping down. And we're going to talk about Vince McMahon stepping down. Where does the WWE go from here? And we're going to talk about the SummerSlam lineup for Saturday. Lots to talk about Thursday night, 8 p.m. Blog Talk Radio for you to listen, 347-205-9631. The last several weeks, we've had hundreds of people from the 412 area code. I appreciate every one of you who listens to the show. It's great. Myself, Smoking Jim Frazier, Mark Mancini, our guest again, Clayton Truder, once again will be on to talk wrestling with us once again this coming Thursday and every Thursday at 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Also every Tuesday here on YouTube, Facebook Live, is Sports Corner Monday nights. The way I see it, it's an epic version every single Monday night, 7 p.m. I'm a heavy hitter. I spoot out the facts, and I tell it like I see it because it is the way I see it, and it's Monday night, 7 p.m. Also here on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget to catch my friends Claudia Rosano, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Luther Dupree, Steel City Sports World, 6 p.m. on PCTV, Channel 21 Comcast, 47 Verizon, and also on Facebook, PCTV's Facebook page as well, and their show, The Boxing Authorities. I let them do boxing. I cover wrestling, and they're real good at what they do. Some big things coming up in boxing. You got the Jake Paul fight. You got Tyson Fury talking about fighting Thor in an exhibition fight. You should see this Thor guy. I saw a picture of him today, and I tell you what, man, this is one big dude. I think he looks like Dolph Lundgren looked in Rocky IV. This dude is huge, okay? And I know Tyson Fury's a big man, but I'm going to tell you what, this guy makes Tyson Fury look small. So I'm telling you right now, we'll see what the Boxing Authorities have to say. Watch their show also on Fight Network as well, FITE, the Fight Network, and on the WBC network as well. I'll tell you what, them guys are moving up in the world. Wrestling's going to be moving up in the world. Sports Corner, the way I see it, we're all moving up here in the world of sport, of talk and podcasts and TV shows and everything else. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. This is Ralph Williams. It was great being here with you tonight. Thanks, Susie, for her comments as well. Don't forget about our comment section. You can comment as well anytime. Have a great night. Be safe.